Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shifting Gears. I am your host, Clutch. And this evening I'm joined by MLG Wiggin, MLG Omerta. He says hello. And Tiberius. Oddly, tonight, gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about. Two major events that occurred this weekend. They are IPL 4 and PAX. Myself and Wiggin were able to attend PAX East. Really good time. So we're going to cover a lot of the different people, places, and things that we saw, especially in the esports realm of some good titles that are coming out in the future, and the really cool attitude we found with some of the different developers. We're going to have Omerta and Tiberius talk a lot about IPL 4 since they were able to watch a lot of the games that happened for StarCraft 2 and League of Legends. But first off, Wiggin, let's go ahead and talk about PAX this fine evening. You and I had to drive over 12 hours to attend this event up in Boston.
The things we sacrifice for esports.
I know, exactly. But first off, since there was a lot of good with this event, I want to talk a little bit about the bad. I've attended a couple other video game conventions, namely BlizzCon. And one of the things about PAX that I was a little disheartened with was they had really cool booths, but the layout felt bad. It felt too jumbled, and some of the booths were too small for what they were trying to do, causing longer lines for the different games, or just really small sections that was they could have done a lot more with. And I think the vendors or the actual companies would have liked to have done a lot more with, but they couldn't because of the space. Just my opinion, though. The space just was not enough, especially the theaters. We tried to attend the video game orchestra, but the main theater was full and we couldn't watch it anywhere else. So kind of sucked. I would think that maybe they could have a projection screen in the other theaters so that other people could watch it via stream, but they did not have that. Any of your thoughts so far on it? I got a couple more points, but go ahead.
Well, it was sort of my first time going to a non-esports centric convention. That was just just gaming in general, and I really liked it. I could see where you're coming from with the layout and stuff like that, but I don't really have anything to compare it to. I never got to go to BlizzCon or anything like that. But I think a lot of the bad things for us were kind of good things for PAX. Like, it was just so packed everywhere you went. I mean, that there were just so many people there that I feel like they were almost like not prepared for the kind of crowds they had. So we did miss out on a lot of things we would have wanted to see, like you said, the theaters, just because you had to get in line like hours ahead of time. There's only so much time in the day. But I mean, I still had fun.
Yeah, no, of course, definitely still had fun. Maybe just some planning issues that it could have been better executed, and these kind of events are still growing. People are still working on making them better. These are merely just suggestions and observations I made for this event. But we're going to talk about all the good stuff.
So what you're saying is they should have had more chairs.
More chairs. They should have definitely spawned more chairs. But that's the kind of problems that we're used to. Am I right? That's right. Borderlands 2 had a 4-hour line, which people definitely complained about. And I was not able to receive a swag bag, which I felt a little bit cheated there. I would think that every holder of a PAX ticket should have a swag bag, but they ran out.
Blame all the nerds that took multiple swag bags.
Yeah, those people that took multiple ones. Anyways, in the swag bag was a copy of Rift, some beta keys, a cool little crown hat you can make. I mean, a lot of this stuff really wasn't going to keep.
Little Burger King hat.
Yeah, a little Burger King hat for Magic the Gathering. The copy of Rift would have been nice, but I didn't make a huge uproar about it. It was more of I was disappointed of, I would think if I was a PAX ticket holder, I would have had access to any kind of promotional deals or items that...
You can have one of the 4 I have.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I could maybe do that. Anyways.
But
let's go into the good, man, because there was so much good, and that was the knowledgeable people that we met showing off all the titles, all the different titles. And Omerta or Tiberius, I don't know if you guys saw any of the coverage online for some of the titles. You guys were definitely busy watching IPL 4 this week.
I only saw part of the Gears panel, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we didn't see any panels except for State of the Game. We'll get into that later. But some major titles that we saw were, Max Payne 3 had a big booth there. Aliens Colonial
Big booth,
Marine.
not a big showing.
Yeah, big booth, not a big showing. Aliens Colonial Marine had a big booth there. Terra had a booth. High Res
Assassin's Creed 3.
Assassin's Creed 3 had a booth that was designed where you couldn't see any of the gameplay because it was exclusive. You weren't allowed to take any videography of it, either pictures or video. And they had girls outside talking about, like, yeah, I want you to tweet this, and here's a free inflatable tomahawk or something. So I wasn't really interested in waiting in line for multiple hours to check it out. They had Firefly there from Red 5 Studios.
Firefall.
Did I say Firefly? Oh my gosh, so sorry.
No Nathan
So
Fillion.
good show.
No, Joss Whedon had a AMA on Reddit today, and so that's why I got Firefly in my head.
Firefly's better anyway.
Yeah, Firefall from Red 5 Studios. And Hi-Res Studios made a big showing at PAX. A lot of marketing for Tribes, as well as you got to play Smite, and which we really enjoyed, but we'll get into more details later on that. And I think the biggest showing, as far as people surrounding the booth and the amount of space that they had, was Riot Games for League of Legends. So a huge variety. And then they had tabletop games and Magic and all this other stuff. When I say Magic, I mean Magic the Gathering. Like magicians showing up and doing magic tricks. But they had a lot of different flavors in the entire broad spectrum gaming world, which is neat to see because you have a lot of cross-culture even. I mean, when you say gamer, that subdivides into so many different types of gamers. You still have people that play Warhammer 40K tabletop games. You have, Magic players. Then you have PC gamers. You have console gamers. And you have MMO players. And so all of that hodgepodge of people mixed into one area was really neat to see. But jumping on what you're saying, Wigan, about the difference of an esports event compared to this, is I really miss that electricity that you feel at an esports event, where everybody is there for the same purpose and same reason, right? They may be cheering for different players, and some may be there for different games, but they're there to partake in esports. And I missed that feeling when I was at PAX. So the first day, I felt, man, this doesn't feel as exciting as other events I've been to, but it was because it was a different kind of event. There wasn't anything wrong with it per se. It just felt different, but definitely had a good time.
Yeah. Well, like at an esports event, everybody's there for the same thing, even if it's just a difference of like someone's there for like I don't know, like a fighting game versus StarCraft. Everyone's still there. They want to see these pro players. They want to cheer for players. At PAX, it's like a loose affiliation of nerds from all these different camps that don't really intermingle. So you'll see people that like are there for like a bunch of games that you've like never played before and you have no interest in. So how do you really like connect to someone like that, other than like looking at hilarious costumes and stuff like that?
The cosplay is not too bad. There was so many Assassin's Creed cosplay players there, either Altair or who's the Italian guy? I forgot his name.
Ezio.
Ezio the Adoratore, or whatever it was. I played the second one. I haven't played anyone after that, but there was
a lot more than I expected. Like I didn't really think there would be that much, but it was like everywhere you looked, there was somebody dressed up as something pretty interesting.
Well, there was also a Boston anime convention going on too, so we saw random people dressed as Pokemon, Pikachu, walking the street. I was thinking maybe if I threw a Pokeball into the grass, I'd catch something, but it didn't happen. But there were a lot of people dressed up at the event, and it was neat to see. Some people put some really cool, intricate details into their costumes. We saw somebody wear a Hanar hat from Mass Effect 3.
Those were cool.
That was pretty funny. And we saw some really cool Teemo hats that Riot was giving out. If you found this mushroom in the convention floor, you got a really neat Teemo hat that some people were pretty envious of having.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
wish
guys
I had.
secure me one?
No,
I
man.
couldn't.
You know I'm a hat person. Come on.
Yeah,
Couldn't find
sorry.
any mushrooms.
Those
Well,
mushrooms just went fast, man.
they went fast. Yeah. Moving on, also, the betas that people were giving out, which we received for a couple games here, and I'll definitely be promoting on my Twitter at Clutch08, giving out a bunch of betas over the next week or so. A lot of Tribes Ascend Gold to give out. And also at the end of this episode, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you how you will be able to win this PAX Sivir skin for League of Legends. So stay tuned for the end of the episode.
Oh, somebody's going to screenshot that and immediately guess the code.
Oh, well, I have an HD camera. I have another one to give away too. I should have covered it. Anyway,
Yeah, that would be smart.
um, moving on into high-res studios, and I want to get really specific with these studios, and then Omerta and Tiberius will definitely get into IPL4. Smite from high-res studios was a lot of fun to play. It's a MOBA title, and it's third person. Okay, so that is the main difference between it and the other MOBA titles that are in the gaming sphere right now. The battleground is it's between gods, so you have these mythological figures that you would recognize via your studies or Disney films. There's no denies, there's a different kind of creep score, there's an auto-buy system, and it's a lot of fun to play. But Wigan, I want you to take the helm here and tell me what were your thoughts of Smite.
It was when I initially looked at it, and I think a lot of people's first impression before they play it will be, oh, this is just kind of like a gimmicky version of like League of Legends. But I was really surprised at the depth of gameplay that we had, and in the game we played, it was like ended up being like a 40-minute game. And it was a lot more than just like a gimmick. It was a real solid attempt at a full, like, deep game that could be competitive. And it was kind of neat. It was like a neat change of pace. So, I don't know. I enjoyed it. What did you think exactly?
I really enjoyed it. I found the camera work to add another level to the game compared to the top-down, where you were easily gankable in certain aspects, where somebody could come behind you and you wouldn't see them, right? And that happened to me one time where I thought, I had that feeling, that sixth sense of, oh, he's going to show up behind me. And I turned around and went, no, there he is, and I'm dead. It was just very dramatic in my mind. So it was, the characters themselves I found to be really cool, because the difference I see with League of Legends compared to other MOBA style games is you have a really cool backstory and character design for the different characters you can play. So you have a little bit deeper investment on who you're playing. And I felt that investment almost of like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could be this kind of character. And they had Hades, right? And so myself and Wigan tag teamed it up. We were brothers as Zeus and Hades. And the gameplay itself was fast to learn. It was fun to play. It still felt challenging in a MOBA type sense. The strategy of pushing your lanes was definitely there. The difference, though, with the creep score is that the game is more for you to push instead of trying to get last hits on creep kills. So, for example, if your lane gets pushed back and the creeps are getting killed by your tower, you will get a lower percentage of XP and gold for the amount of damage that you do to those creeps that have already been injured by your tower, right? So you want to try to push those lanes against so they get less experience and gold because the creeps are being damaged by their tower. So the last hits is not as big compared to the other games. And they said, the people at High-Res says that they did this in order to make the games faster. So the games are more of a 30-minute game instead of 45 minutes compared to other MOBAs, and that you can surrender at 15 minutes. So they're trying to make it a little bit more faster paced.
One thing, I don't know if we mentioned specifically, but it's kind of important. Everything in that game is a skill shot.
Yes.
Like, even your auto attacks are skill shots. So there's it's sort of a different skill component to the game. You have that sort of almost like third-person shooter-esque need to actually be able to aim it where you're hitting it and lead a target and prepare for like a team fight is just a completely different animal when everyone has skill shots and you have that very specific angle. There's like walls going up so you can't even see what's going on the other side and stuff like that.
Sounds kind of like if Bloodline Champions in League of Legends had a baby.
I've actually never played Bloodline Champions.
Yeah, you got to play Bloodline
Take your
Champions.
word.
It's all skill shots all the time, but it's like a mini WoW arena without the MMO behind it.
Yeah. Well, the skill shot system for Hades was really neat because my regular attack, if it connected, it caused blight on that person, and therefore I had an added bonus, such as a stun or added damage on my other abilities. So if I went to... It was kind of like a really cool combo system. And you have that in other MOBA scenes, but when it's a little bit different when you're just trying so hard to get that attack and it finally hits, like bam, and you use your other abilities and you have this big chain amount of damage. So I really enjoyed Smite. I think it could be a successful title in the MOBA scene. but Hi-Rez is seriously invested, at least in programming, of creating this to be an esport, because they do have a top-down spectator mode of the game and other viewpoints, which is really important for any kind of title that wants to be taken seriously in the esports realm nowadays, is that you have to have a good spectator mode. And the verbiage that Hi-Rez was using and the excitement and knowledge they were using about the esports scene was refreshing and also very optimistic from my point of view, because it was really cool to see that. Really cool to talk to people that knew what they were talking about and could list off the features they were going to have in the game to make it a more viable esports title. Now let's shift gears here and talk about Tribes. I don't want to talk about too much because Tribes has been out for a while, in beta form at least, but it had a very, very strong showing at PAX. Myself and Wigan got to meet Bart, who is one of the marketing specialists with Hi-Rez and like the head esports guy there, and he was shoutcasting or broadcasting most of the matches that were going on for Tribes. And they had vehicles there, and they implemented some other changes, I believe. We talked about spectator mode and their upcoming NASL involvement, and it was really cool to talk to somebody that was so passionate about esports and to make this a spectator experience, right? Especially at PAX when he was showing off the different matches that were going on. And the same with Smite. They were talking about the different matches, and they had a lot of people watching it. That this kind of competition, this kind of gaming, truly has a place in the spectator world. And I want to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But wrapping up with Hi-Rez Studios here, I really enjoyed their dedicated personnel. They were really excited about their titles and the tools that they have for upcoming tournaments, if any sort of tournaments decide to have them as titles for their games. And also their independent stance of them not having a distributor trying to get them to succumb to deadlines where they can have constant patches. And almost the game is in perpetual beta until they have an official release, right? But I don't know what their product strategy will be exactly, but since the game Tribes is in beta now, they can patch it every week. They can see what they need to change. They can get a lot of community involvement and get people talking about tournaments and talking about esports, which is, I think, way more exciting and better for the game as a whole than being hush-hush, than releasing on a set date and then waiting for a year and then like, oh, well, we could extend the market value of this game by adding esports to it. Let's see what we can do. You know, it's really cool that right off the bat they're really involved in this. Anything else, Wigan, you'd like to add to Hi-Rez before we move on to Firefall?
Oh, just like in general, I was really impressed by Hi-Rez. I mean, they're a very small company. What did he say? Like a couple hundred people, right?
I think less than that, but they're based out of Atlanta. So
yeah, and what they're doing between Tribes and Smite and everything else and all their different products, man, I'm just really impressed. They're dedicated to trying to make their games competitive and have a high skill cap and to be esports games. And it's really cool to see from an up-and-coming studio.
It is. And it was really cool to meet specific people that could give you that information, or they would like, hey, let me get you this person. I want you to meet him and then to talk to him. I don't know if that kind of esports position existed 5 years ago in within developers. But let's move on to Firefall. I played the demo to Firefall a while ago. I think it was some sort of promotion through a website where I played it, and I enjoyed it. It felt like a mix of Borderlands and Team Fortress and Gears of War. But I believe they only had PvE at PAX, and we got to speak to Morgan, who on her business card says she's the esports maven, which I thought was a neat title. But she was very poignant and articulate about talking about esports and Firefall being a title to fill the role within the PC shooter that's a little bit vague right now. I mean, you have CSGO in the works, we have Tribes, we have Firefall. There's need to be kind of like a set fit for a PC shooter. And we also have, Battlefield 3, which they had an expansion coming out, the close quarter expansion, which looked pretty neat. But back into Firefall here. They are in a perpetual beta right now, where they continually have the community test the game, give feedback, and they patch it, right? So this was your first time playing Firefall. What were your impressions?
I really liked the idea of it. I made a new character and went into the game, and it was the first thing I always look at when I like check out a game, especially shooters, how the controls are. If they're, what I expect from sort of a multiplayer kind of MMO style shooter is, to be honest, pretty shitty. But it was pretty good. It felt a lot like Team Fortress, kind of how you control the game. And I jumped in. I jumped in as a sniper and ran around shooting things. It was nice. You could do what you want with a sniper rifle. It was very Twitch oriented, and the jetpacks and everything like that, and the way you sort of like leveled up and things like that. I was trying to tell if it was going to be more like gimmicky, kind of, if there wouldn't be a lot of depth to the game, and it's really hard to tell with like a 30-minute or whatever it was little time slot you had to play. But it seemed good from what I could see. I really wanted to sign up for the PvP, and I tried to queue up for it, but there was a little bug where when it tried to put me into a PvP game, it just like teleported me to somewhere weird in the world. I had to try to find my way back to like the starting area. But
Sucks.
But yeah, I really am interested in seeing the PvP, because one of the things that the developers, when we talked to them, were saying was that they sort of built the game from PvP down, instead of like most MMOs are PvP and then PvP is just like a thing they add in, and people like it, so they develop it more like WoW, for example.
Yeah.
Like, you can fight each other. People like it. Let's do battlegrounds, then arenas, and so on and so forth. This was supposedly built with PvP in mind, and that's what I'm most interested in when I look at games, because I'm a multiplayer guy, and I love competitive gaming. So the fact that they had a person, like a dedicated person, Morgan, in a position, what was her position? Do you remember? It was like esports.
Esports Maven is her official title.
Esports Maven means that they're putting in that dedicated effort to make it a competitive game. So I really want to play more of it and play the beta and play some of the PvP and see if that's really possible. See if there's enough depth to the game as a shooter, and that's kind of hard to pull off. To make it something that can be competitive.
Yeah, well, I think the next steps for these developers is to talk with guys like you, Wigan, that have a lot of experience in a competitive scene, right? Even though you haven't been officially labeled a professional player, you've played a lot of games up to a level that I'm impressed with, and that's the same for Omerta, because I've known you guys for a while, of understanding, like, what are the core mechanics of a great competitive title, right? Even for that in-between person of, like, they're not just a casual player, they played a lot, they don't have all the time to devote to being a professional player, but, they would like to try their hand and see how good they can be. Having that sort of community involvement, like community feedback with those type of games, with people that have had that experience with different game types, right? I mean, we've played Team Fortress 2, we've played StarCraft 2, we've played MMO PvPs. We kind of have that background. We see what works and what doesn't. And the openness that Red 5 Studios has with that sort of community is a really good thing for their game, right? Because they want to see what works and what doesn't. They want to make adjustments for any sort of gameplay or even spectator mechanics that's going to work down the line in a major esports title, compared to like, oh, well, our game's going to be on a pro circuit, guys, so we need to make a spectator client like in 2 weeks. Can we do that? Like, that's not the kind of mentality you want to have for it to be a success. All right, I want to bring up a few more titles here and talk about Twitch TV's involvement and state of the game, and then we're going to get into BarCraft Boston, and then we're going to talk about IPL 4, because I don't want Galen and Omer falling asleep on me.
That can happen, too.
It can happen. It can happen. Other titles. Terra, an MMO where it's more Twitch-based. For example, you have to guard a block with your shield by actually position the shield in a blocking position. So if a sword's coming at you, you got to move your shield, The graphics look really cool, but as far as the timing for the game, it comes out May 1st, and Diablo 3 comes out May 15th. So I need to play more StarCraft 2 before Diablo 3 comes out, so I don't know if I'm going to have any time to play it. But the art style looked really cool. The graphics looked very good for an MMO. And the gameplay mechanics was very refreshing in the MMO scene, because there weren't any just stand back and press auto attack and wait. You had to be involved in the different attacks, and you had chain combos that you could create yourself, which I found was really neat. So I hope Terra is a great success. Like any game that comes out that people have devoted a lot of time and effort and investment in monetarily. But we'll see what happens. It's definitely a game I would like to check out further down the line if I'm not able to right off the bat, to see how the community has accepted it. Alien Colonial Marine looked very good graphic-wise, but I was not able to play it. And Borderlands 2, it didn't feel like waiting in line for 4 hours, but it looked pretty cool. They had a nice statue. I don't want to say like what, not like it's not like a monolithic kind of thing. But they had a really cool pose of the 4 different characters or 5 characters that you could play in the middle of the line, and so they had a very big presence there. Well, let's shift gears here and talk about the Twitch.tv forum. And I think I'm the only one who attended this. Wigan, you might have been doing something else, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I found this forum very, very poignant, where they talked about how video games aren't just for playing anymore because of the whole spectator scene. And DJ Wheat brought up something that he's been talking about and I've been talking about for a while, and that's the accessibility. The accessibility of watching people play video games. Back in the day, you have to go to a LAN or you have to go to an arcade. Now, because of the broadband internet and companies like Twitch TV, which is a great company, you can broadcast simply. I mean, if you watch DJ Weech's tutorial during his live on 3 that he did at the PAX, you probably learned a lot of really good things, but also simple things on how to stream. And so now any player can do that as long as they have a good enough computer and a high enough upload rate with their internet service provider. And because of that, accessibility, that's how esports has been able to explode and grow. And it was really cool to have a lot of people there that, for example, they played Magic games and they play a couple MMOs on their own, but they haven't heard anything really about esports or about spectating. But maybe one person that they watched a guide from heard that they stream live, like this dungeon raid. So they go and check it out, like, wow, it's really cool. I can watch this in HD, how they do it. And they walk into that panel and they see DJ Wheat and Kevin Lynn and other people that have been involved in this atmosphere for a while, and they go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this existed. I'm totally going to check out an MLG or an IPL or an NASL, or I'm going to check out what the fighting games community is going to do with EVO. It gets them way more exposed and way more pumped to it. So I thought that forum was very, 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 very good timing-wise, and the way they presented it. It was really neat. And also kind of the marketing strategies of streaming, and the really funny story of how Justin TV exploded because of the Jonas Brothers tweeting forum. Okay. State of the Game was very cool. If you haven't listened to the episode, the MP3 is uploaded. JP tweeted about it, so go to your normal websites for that. They had a big announcement. Talking about that a top 10 internet website will be partnering with the show, and that they will be contractually obligated to have 3 shows a month. So I'm pretty sure they're going to have a set time and date here pretty soon being announced, but look for more information that way. But it was a really funny episode. Jeff was killing it with those jokes, man. So many innuendos. All right, Wigan, let's talk about BarCraft Boston, man. What an event, dude. So many people there.
I was blown away. That was like some of the most fun I've ever had watching anything involving a sport.
The amount of people, my friend, it was so funny. I was there. I arrived a little bit early, and they let me go inside just to sit down and chill, and everybody else was waiting outside in the cold. And I was outside, and they were trying to set up some technical things and see if they needed any help or anything. They didn't. I started to feel really bad that everybody's waiting outside. And so I just left and waited outside with them and talked to them and talked about the Stefano game I just watched. And I was... This is my first BarCraft, and I'm really glad this is my first one, because being surrounded by so many people there that were having a good time watching StarCraft and talking about the scene itself and getting to meet people like JP and Artosis and In Control was a pretty special experience, man. And to be in an environment, in an esports environment where I didn't have to work, like I wasn't thinking about, okay, we have 5 minutes to fill, I need to find somebody to interview. Whitera, Can you be interviewed like that kind of stress, and just being a spectator was nice, was really nice, man. And shout outs to Good Life Bar. They did a great job hosting. And you can follow BarCraft Boston on Twitter, guys. So if you're in the area, even if you're like 3-4 hours away, totally worth it to go for their next event. I highly recommend it. Wigan and I drove 12 hours for PAX and for BarCraft Boston. But, I mean, I don't know if I'd be willing to drive that far again to anything, but I definitely would travel up there again if the time means and personal planning called for it. But I really had a good time. Wigan, anything else to add there?
I mean, honestly, BarCraft Boston was the highlight of my night, or of my whole trip, rather. Like, if I had to miss PAX or the BarCraft, I would probably have missed PAX. It was just so fun. It's hard to like quantify how awesome it is to watch something. Thanks, Tyler. To watch something and enjoy it surrounded by people that are passionate about the same thing as you. But it was great, and so big props to the BarCraft Boston guys and gals that ran that.
Yeah, definitely. And to all the people on Twitter that made me feel guilty for being inside, thank you, because you guys are the true heroes of this, coming out and supporting it. But anyway, this picture I'm putting up on the stream, going from left to right, the gentleman sitting on the bottom was a Canadian guy attending his first StarCraft, I believe. Really nice guy. Then there's semi-pro Joe from Monster, and then Tempo, and then the one behind Tempo is another one of the Canadian esports fanatics that came down to BarCraft Boston. Then, of course, DJ Wheat, then In Control, then myself, then my buddy DJ, who somebody on Reddit apparently went to school with and surprised to see him. Then JP McDaniel, Live in Pink, and you can see Wigan ducking out of the picture on the right, just leaning back for some reason. But it really was a good time. Artosis showed up a little bit after this picture was taken, and he had a really good time as well. He, was answering a lot of people's questions and meeting a lot of fans, and it really was a really good time. And also the venue itself was really cool. You had those 2 bar areas up top, and then we were down in this basement area that they opened up after it was pretty full up top, and they had TVs on both the pillars. One of them wasn't working, but the one to my right, but everybody's left in the photo, was working, and they had a bunch of TVs in the back of the bar. They had really good food. Obviously, they had drinks. That table is like somebody commented that they could see the glass on that table, but it was. I think that's somebody's pizza down there as well. But it was a really good time, man. Really good time.
Oh, yeah.
So, just huge shout-outs to everybody that was involved, even the people that showed up just for fun and they noticed they were having some technical difficulties and decided to step up and help. Really was nice of you guys to do that. Thank you so much. And so I think that's all that's left to say about BarCraft Boston, man. I definitely want to go to BarCraft again.
If I could try to give some sage advice, there are certain people in esports that you should not attempt to outdrink, especially if you've gotten a head start on them, and especially if you have a 12-hour drive home next day. That's why I can barely talk still, by the way.
Yeah. Can I tell the I'll see you guys inside story?
I felt like a champion for that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have a 12-hour drive, right? And we leave about 8:50 in the morning, and Wigan and DJ are driving with me back down to Virginia where we live. And Wigan's like, hey, man, are we going to get something to eat? Because, stomach and a car ride. And I was like, yeah, okay. And Wigan looks at me and goes, you know what, I got to throw up. And I'm like, all right. So, and we're on the highway, and I'm thinking, do I need to pull over on the highway? And I don't want to do that. Should I pull over at an exit? I don't know. So he's got the window down, and we're going. And we decided we need to get some food, and Wigan has been holding in his vomit this whole time. And so
a guy who drives fast, Josh, you did not drive fast to anywhere that I could get out of a car. It was like an hour and a half of me going, can we just pull over?
So no, I can feel your body language like, Josh, please pull over. And so I get to an area where we can pull over, and Wigan, he opens the door and he says, I'll see you guys inside. And he says it in a classy way, and right as he stands up, just all over the grass, and myself and DJ are laughing so hard, but we feel so bad at the same time. Anyways, we go inside the building where we can use the facilities, and then he had some hash browns and it was good to go after that. But my goodness, man, I'm going to remember that forever. So if you ever see me and Wigan at a future esports event and I give him a nod and said, hey, I'll see you inside, if you do a vomit noise next to him, I will give you $5. That is a fact. That is a fact.
We have to just to say this real quick. Part of Clutch doesn't drink alcohol. So part of the reason I was in that condition the next day is every time anyone wanted to buy Josh a drink, he's like too polite to decline it. So he'd take it and then give it to me. So I was just like designated drinker for the night.
I would put it on the table, and we're gonna be like, I got this. So, but I appreciate the civility of everybody around me for that, especially JP. He was like, Clutch, come on, man. It's like, I'm sorry, dude, I don't drink. And Wigan's like, I got this. So it was a really good time. Okay, shifting gears, gentlemen. Omerta and Tiberius, I had you guys on the show for a reason, not just to hear stories of Wigan and his vomit explosion, but we're also here to talk about IPL 4. So, Galen, I'm going to give you the floor first to talk about some StarCraft 2 matches that happened this weekend. Floor is yours.
We want land. We want land. We want. I don't know if you guys heard that the chant, but
Chant heard around the world, man.
yeah. I mean, Parting had a 1 game against Marine King, and the game disconnected, and they regained, and Marine King won. So yeah, that was kind of crappy. There were a lot of cool stories coming out of the weekend, particularly Scarlet, the female Zerg player from, I think she's Canadian. I'm not sure.
I believe so.
Yeah, she beat 2 Koreans, I think it was. No, or just 1. I think she beat 1 Korean and beat the Muslim convincingly 2-0, from what I hear. And then went to a really good 3-game series with JYP, one of the best Korean Protoss out there. And she could have won the 3rd game too. That got streamed. She definitely could have won that game. So that was really cool watching her. In general, this tournament was just crazy, man. There were like 28 Koreans in the open bracket, I think it was.
Yep.
And 2 didn't show up. MVP and Moon didn't show up, so it would have been an even 30 if they'd shown up.
Yeah, Moon wasn't able to make it because he forgot his visa, right?
I don't remember the exact story.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it was fun, man. North America's last hope, Stefano, played really well, like he always does.
Best player NA, right?
Yeah, best Zerg NA, Stefano. He only lost to Marine King in a pretty close series in groups, and then
those nukes.
Yeah.
That was from MMA, right?
Yeah, that was MMA later. He played well, but in general, Koreans played well. And then the surprise of the tournament kind of was Squirtle, man.
Koreans played well. Okay, thanks, Slash.
Yeah.
That insightful comment.
Well, I mean, it's just, you kind of expect, there were a lot of good foreign players there too, and none of them, except Stefano, were really able to do anything. But the kind of the underdog story was Squirtle, man. The dude, he lost an ST in winners in the championship bracket, and then 2-0 to Bomber, Marine King, and MMA right in a row. I mean, those are 3 not only of the best Terrans, but 3 of the best TVPs in the entire world. He just took 6 straight games off of them. It was pretty cool. His style was interesting, just like making Colossus on 2 bases and killing these greedy Terrans. So that was fun to watch. And
that Protoss build is so hard right now.
It was super effective.
Yeah.
It was really effective. And, while I don't like the style a whole lot, it showed that he definitely had prepared coming into the tournament, or at least against Terran. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he killed all these guys with it, man. So yeah, that's kind of, and then of course Alive won. Alive is the winner, and he's kind of been due for a big tournament win for a while. I think he's one of the more underrated Terrans. Well, I mean, everyone knows he's good, but they don't necessarily put him on like the MMA, MVP, Marine King kind of level, and I think he's just about there. So it was cool to see him win his first big tournament.
Yeah, it's cool for the entire scene, showing that this is still anybody's game, and we've heard about this player for a while in different tournaments, and now he is on top after winning IPL 4. Very big deal, especially having that many Koreans there, and even foreign players that are doing a great job.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting to hear that. And the finals went kind of late for a lot of people on the East Coast.
So late. I don't know if that was like a mistake in scheduling or like all the technical delays over the weekend just kind of put them behind, but I think I was up till like 2:30 or 3 a.m. watching it, East Coast, and yeah, it was so late.
It was up there. Did you watch any of MC?
MC, I love MC's casting is hilarious, man. First of all, he realizes that everything that's not Protoss is Imba, so I agree with him there.
Oh, jeez.
Especially Overlords, which he calls air supply depots. Those are very Imba. And he even called the Hydralisk Imba, which I'm not sure very many people would agree with, but he went there. Now, he's cool, man. He's funny. He just calls everything Imba, has a good time. And his English is, kind of hit or miss, but that is part of the entertainment value, I think, is listening to him talking broken English.
Yeah, it's part of his charm, right? People really dig accents.
Unfortunately, it was such a good event, but I feel like it'll always be tainted by that GSTL disconnect, man.
Yep.
Because anybody, especially Dave, I mean, if you're behind 30 supply against a 4-base Protoss, and they have a Warp Prism in your base, about to reinforce, you can't win that game. You can't win it.
You can't say can't. I mean, he definitely had the game what you would consider won, but it was you can't award that win. You can't do it. You have to leave it in the player's hands and let him regame. And it really sucks that then he won and then went on and beat everybody and won the whole series.
Yeah.
But you just have to let it be in the player's hands.
Yeah.
You can't declare it, especially because if anybody in the world could come back in that situation, it's Marine King Prime.
I'm pretty sure I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure Kespa has officials that can declare games won or lost if there is some kind of technical issue. I mean, I'm wondering if it's only a matter of time before that happens in StarCraft 2, or if they're going to implement some kind of save state. I've seen a lot of people talking about that on Reddit, where, I don't know, I guess the game would automatically save in the event of a disconnect, or it continuously saves all the way through, but...
Too bad the technology isn't there yet. Oh, wait, it is League of Legends, for example? Yeah, that was a lot of people's conversations that were happening at BarCraft Boston of, what? Well, what is it? Is it just the ultimate trolling that Blizzard's trying to do? But the thing is, and DJ, we brought this up in State of the Game, and he asked this question, or at least it was in one of the forums, where when that scenario happened, okay, and you could debate about whether should there be better rulings in the tournament bylaws or the statutes of this is what happens if a disconnect happens within the rule book at IPL or an MLG or an NASL or an ESL.
Yeah.
We could debate that back and forth, but what we really need to talk about is why can't we have this kind of replay system if we can't have LAN, right? And Mike Morheim and Dustin Broder were sitting right there in the audience. And
that was just the best thing from the entire event, was that picture.
Yeah.
Can you pull that up, by the way? That picture was
I'll try to. It'll give me a sec. But
on Mike Morheim's face is basically everybody in the crowd, and then Dustin Broder's face is everybody at Blizzard. It's pretty glorious. I hope most people watching this have already seen it. But.
I've got it. I can throw it in chat real quick.
Okay, yeah, throw it in chat. I did see somebody post Team Polt. They had a Team Polt sign at IPL 4. So if they bring that same sign to MLG Anaheim, I'll get them a backstage tour if Adam Apicella will let me. Um, but I thought that was really neat. Somebody, I think Silence posted that on my Twitter, which I thought was cool.
Mhm.
What did you guys think of the overall production value of IPL 3?
Well,
Or
just
4.
on the
sorry,
sign thing,
compared to
do you
3.
think that the next generation of those signs is flashcards for you so you don't mess up team names? Like someone will hold it up
Nice.
during the
No, I'm
interview?
just going to
I like
have
that
people
idea.
yell. I'm just going to have the microphone and be like, and from team, and they'll yell, Dignitas, and then I'll say, show, or whoever it is. That's how we're doing it. It's like baby's first emceeing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought the production value was pretty good. A lot of people really enjoyed the second stream, what Lonnie was doing with the crowd interactions. I saw some different Reddit posts about the art of emceeing, and I'm not going to comment on the girls' performance. I love Rachel and I love Anna. I think they do great work. But being a host really is an art form. And it takes training. It takes a sense of the audience and hype. And I wish anybody in the seat of a caster or with a microphone in their phone doing interviews or emceeing that they are performing to the best of their ability, because really the whole world is watching. And I thought overall, out of all of the performances I saw, I didn't see a whole lot of IPL 4, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't see a whole lot because I was busy at PAX. But I thought Cat's Pajamas,
Crushed.
oh my
crushed
gosh!
it
Like
with the player
I'm almost
intros.
at a
Is that what
loss
you're
of
trying
I'm
to
almost
say?
at a loss of words on how cool that was to see and how enthralled he was. I could tell in his voice how much he was loving what he was doing at that moment. So whatever kind of scheduling,
I want to make sweet love to his voice.
I told him on Reddit, dude, if you don't have a voice agent, book one, get one, because you can get some work outside of esports that would bring people in the medium of entertainment into the realm of esports because of that kind of work. Anyways, I thought that was a key thing needed in that tournament style, especially in Vegas, right? I mean, there's been huge fights in Vegas, huge sports events in Vegas, be it boxing or MMA or other types of things where you want that kind of hype, and I felt that he really generated that for them for those team fights that happened that night. So shout outs to him and all the other casters that did a great job. I thought the lighting looked great for the production value. I thought that the booths looked cool. There was some issues with sound. There was some issues with camera work, but overall, it was an event that people enjoyed.
You mean you don't want like random pans of the crowd then zooming in on like a really small picture of a player's face?
No, I don't
Like
think,
during the game when important
Yeah.
things are happening?
no, I
That
don't
was
think anybody
so
wants that.
obnoxious, man.
It's
It
like,
really
wow,
was.
thanks for just completely ruining the narrative game so you can have like a pan of the crowd that nobody's cheering during.
You know, like during introductions or something like that, or the first 30 seconds to a minute of a game when there's nothing really going on, I can see kind of doing that to build the hype. But in the middle of the game, man, I just want to watch the game.
Yeah.
I think they were going for like the OGN like pro league kind of thing where they do the like something happens and they just quickly go to the player's face and he's like oh shit and and then back to the game, but it just wasn't working in that situation.
Yeah. Well, some mistakes were made. Mistakes will happen in any live event. You can even watch the Oscars, and for those that have worked behind the scenes, they'll notice little flubs and mistakes. But for any tournament, honestly, we want to wish them the best of luck, and that they have no sort of bugs or technical issues. Because honestly, guys, if a tournament is successful, then esports is successful. We need to continually grow the scene. We don't have hundreds of millions of viewers watching it where we can be really cutthroat and competitive. Anyways, let's shift gears here now because I want Tiberius, oddly, to speak to us about the wonderful League of Legend, fantastic adventure, awesomeness, whatever kind of adjectives you want to throw in there. For League of Legends
Whatever
IPL 4.
ridiculous new meta where people are playing like AP champions that aren't supposed to be and shit. Let's
There-
go.
League
Crazy
of Legends
stuff.
was pretty good this weekend. There were 8 teams there, 7 from North America and 1 from Europe. The only European team that qualified was Against All Authority, and North America pretty much stomped them. They didn't win a single game. Epic Gaming came in with a new lineup. They no longer have Dan Den. He stepped into a more coaching role, and Dyrus left for Team Solo Mid. They also did not win a game with their new lineup. Their new top and new jungler couldn't quite keep, or Westeros couldn't quite keep up in top, and their new jungler couldn't handle it. Their AD did all right. Then we had the big story of the weekend as far as surprises go was Monomaniac. They came through the qualifiers. They had to play against M5, the reigning champions of the world, basically. And because it was played on the North American servers for the qualifiers, which may not have been the best decision, but M5 was playing on like 200 ping, and they like to play skill shot champions, and I'm sure most of you know ping and skill shot don't really mix very well. So Monomaniac ended up qualifying, and everybody was like, well, their qualification's a fluke. They won't do anything. And they came into the weekend and actually got 4th place. Their first series of the weekend was really good, but it wasn't shown on stream.
Oh.
They played Dignitas and went up 1-0 really early, and they were just stomping the second game. But Dignitas showed up with their secret weapon, which surprised a lot of people. Their team composition featured a solo top Lulu.
Yep.
Which Lulu is a
What?
new champion. She's made to be a support champion.
Here's what you do. You take any new champion and just play them solo top, and they're going to beat everybody for that week until they get nerfed.
Voyboy came out with solo top Lulu and was just winning lanes, and then it got to late game and they had Soraka mid, Lulu top, and then whatever other support they felt like bottom lane, and they would just keep their AD from dying, and their jungler would be somebody tanky like Mundo that you couldn't kill anyway. So you have to focus the fucking AD champion they pick bottom, and you just can't do anything to him because there's so much support. So they would win games just by having so much support around their AD. They ended up beating Monomaniac, coming back from being down a game. They beat Mono that way. Then they went in to face CLG. They played the first game normal, but then they pulled out the strat again, and like CLG just couldn't handle it. They did it with COG in the series against CLG, but they were using Corki the first series. CLG, they beat against All Authority, and then they lost to Dignitas. Curse Gaming and V8 had pretty standard showings. They both, they got to the second losers round and dropped out. They didn't have anything special about them. CLG ended up beating Monomaniac and facing off against Dignitas again, and they're like, you know what? We're not dealing with the supports again. They banned Soraka and Lulu both games and just outplayed CLG completely. Or outplayed Dignitas, sorry. And so CLG and TSM, Solo Mid, faced off in the finals. And there wasn't anything really special about the games. CLG won the first two in really convincing fashion. They shut down Dyrus. Wow. Dyrus just kept getting camped top lane and couldn't do anything. So he lost the first two games for him. And then in the second series, because since CLG won the first series 2-0, they had to play a second series because they were coming from the losers bracket. Solo Mid was like, we're going to make sure Dyrus is all right. And they had Odd One play the role he played in MLG Providence, where he's more of a ganking jungler. And he just camped top, and Dyrus got so fed that it didn't even matter. And TSM went on to win. Dyrus went 8-0-8, which happens to be his area code, apparently. There's a little gif of him on the internet going 8-0-8, doing a cut through it.
Cool.
That was the weekend.
Cool, man.
The crowd noise was really great for the weekend.
Mhm.
There was
Yeah.
one point, AMD apparently handed out those Thunder Sticks you bang together, and the crowd got so loud with those that IPL's hosts had to ask the crowd to stop with the Thunder Sticks because the players couldn't communicate with one another. It was so loud.
It's like bombs being dropped, and you got to tell somebody to go through the jungle, just like in Nam.
Mundo's in the trees, man.
When I was at the wall, concrete bubble.
Anyways, yes, we definitely saw on Reddit posts on the StarCraft forum that there were things about the noise going on, and people were saying, well, like, why isn't the StarCraft 2 crowd like the League of Legends crowd? But even the numbers on the stream were pretty high for League of Legends. Well, for both League of Legends and StarCraft 2, but I believe League of Legends even surpassed StarCraft 2 on the stream for IPL 4.
It was about double for the entire weekend, sometimes
Wow.
triple.
Big deal, man. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
League of Legends, some people are saying, is the most played game at the PC Bang cafes in Korea right now. I'm actually friends with one of the esports managers in Korea for Riot Games. He's actually used to be Moon's manager for We Made Fox. Daniel, really nice guy, but he works for Riot now and oversees that. And there's some exciting stuff happening over there. So League of Legends definitely here to stay, man. I mean, going back to PAX and the showing they had there and the huge crowds they had there, and I think they were showing some of the IPL 4 matches at PAX. So, mobile games are here to stay for sure, and to have that kind of popularity in that scene is cool. StarCraft 2 is still #1 in my heart when it comes to esports, and I think games like League of Legends and StarCraft 2 are a good balance kind of to have on in a tournament scene. You have MOBA style team game, then you have the one-on-one melee, as they used to call the maps, of destruction go between two individuals, which is really fun to watch, as we have all seen. That's why we have tournaments that we love going to. I am digressing, gentlemen. Let's move on to the last bit of show notes we have here. Spring Arena is happening next weekend. Oh my gosh, next weekend, so fast, for Major League Gaming. It sounds like it's going to be a clutch event. Hint, hint.
See what he did there.
Looking forward to that.
Them puns.
Them puns. MLG released a new website. Twitch.tv announced some good stuff with their partners that they'll be announcing or have already announced here pretty soon. Am I missing anything, gentlemen? I think that's everything we wanted to cover.
I think that's it, man.
I think that's it. You're
Yep,
long
that's everything
Oz.
that happened in the world this weekend.
That's right. Everything that you can remember, right, Willigan?
It's more than I can remember.
No, it's good times. We're going to be cutting a little bit early then, gentlemen. I have 3 weeks left of school. And
Do we want a couple questions? I know.
yeah, you know what? Let's take some
we've been
questions.
asking
A couple
the same
people have been
question in
asking.
Chat a couple times.
I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she is the girl that cosplayed at Misty and helped a lot at BarCraft. There's her question, yeah. It says, I wasn't able to ask this at State of the Game because the line was too long, but have you heard about the upcoming Semi-Pro League, and do you think it will have any effect on the foreigners, specifically the U.S. StarCraft 2 scene? I've theorycraft with some other head people at some tournaments about some sort of semi-pro league or like a farm league, right, where people can compete, and then the champion of such a league would get a seated spot in the open bracket, or like would get a position in the open bracket or a seed in the pool or something. Smaller leagues would be cool. I mean, we kind of see that, right? You have Playhem with their daily tournaments, and you have smaller leagues, but they're trying to like increase in their market value, so they invite pro players, big name players to compete. But having the smaller leagues is really good for more local scenes. Sometimes it can get infuriating from some StarCraft 2 players in the US that are trying to make a name for themselves but are no way near the kind of competition in Korea, right? So they want to earn money, they want to earn some sort of place or get their name out there, but they can't go to these big tournaments and really do well.
Yeah.
But having these smaller tournaments where they can compete to more localized events, or even, just the North American ladder or just the United States, is a good idea. I can definitely see some promise there of people practicing with the best of they can in their local area, and therefore being more not challenged, but being more prepared for the challenge of branching out to a European scene or a Korean scene.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
think,
being on the Korean ladder helps as well. But go ahead, Wigan.
I was going to say, I think even more with the idea of like a semi-pro league, is one of the real hard things about being an NA or even an EU player compared to the Korean players is it's very, very, very difficult for someone not in Korea to make that jump from a guy who plays a lot of StarCraft and is good to a guy who can do it for a living. And that's kind of the cool thing that maybe a semi-pro league could offer is you could see it like sort of like a farm league where it's not like take like a Playhem or something. It's going to be won by like whatever random pros playing it that day. But a semi-pro league where you don't have any pro players and you can see the same sort of, you can basically see who is the best of the people not being paid or not having that chance to be on the team.
Yeah,
that's something that we're definitely lacking. We have no like ability to grow a player who hasn't already been in the scene in North America. So I hope that something like that can develop. Of course, you have to be very careful about stopping people from like smurfing in like major smurfs into like every tournament he can.
That's true.
Even on different servers, so you'd have to like watch out for that.
But if you're a no-name player and you defeat a Korean in the open bracket at IPL4, guess what? You're probably gonna get a sponsorship, and that's what Scarlet did. So that was really exciting to see that. There's another question here to Tiberius, mainly from Rage and Cajun. Do you think that there will be more of a variety of winners in the major League of Legends tournaments? Because it seems that it will always be TSM and CLG in the finals.
I really don't think you'll see any more teams in finals as far as North American tournaments go, because TSM, they have their gaming house in New York, where they all live together, and they even have the Rain Man who used to be on Solo Mid living there with them still, and now they've picked up one of Reginald Andy Den's brothers. Not Dan from Epic Gamer, but their other brother has now stepped into a coaching position for them to make sure they're all staying on the same page and eating right, which apparently has been a problem in the past. And CLG, they apparently are mostly staying in Korea right now for OGN, competing over there against Zenix Storm, getting coached by Yellow and some of the other teams. So they just have so much more practice at a higher level than the other teams do. Dignitas can kind of throw themselves in there every now and then. It really depends on their jungler, who seems like he doesn't have a lot of experience right now. Pretty much every game I saw him play this weekend, he was playing Mundo. So he's really easy to predict and deal with. Until other teams get that level of practice or that high level of practice, nobody else will compete with Solo Mid, CLG, or Dignitas.
Intriguing. We'll see. Another question here. Serious question from MLG Dylan. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna answer it too. Why is 1.6 referring to Counter-Strike better than Source and Go combined? And use an example with bacon. Well, it's like this. Sometimes when you have the longer hickory smoked seasoned bacon that you've known the flavor for so long and it's so good, you stick with that and you have better company around you that really enjoy that nice piece of bacon, right? You don't want to try new bacon. You don't want to try it. You already have your bacon. But sometimes that farm, it can't produce that kind of bacon anymore because it could go out of business or a certain branch went out of business. So what happens is they understand what made that bacon so good in the past and they try to implement that in the new bacon. And at first it's going to taste different, maybe not be the same thing as you remembered it, but eventually they're going to get it right. And that's how I think about Counter-Strike.
I'd like to add some input here too. If, say you go to a restaurant and you order bacon with, I don't know, whatever, your breakfast or on a sandwich, and it comes back to you and it's Canadian bacon, you're going to be pissed, right? That's like saying, hey, I want to get Counter-Strike, and you get Source or Go instead of 1.6.
Well, look,
I would like
first
to
of all,
add
you don't know
in,
anything about Go.
whenever you're trying to make bacon, you have to remember the salt content. If somebody's not getting a little bit of salt in their bacon, it's just not going to taste right.
Yeah.
And you try to reproduce that, and everybody's going to be like, well, my salt. I need my salt. Can't piss people off. Where's my salt?
Kind of tastes like, Torchlight 2 a little bit, does it?
You're Go look up some articles of that. That was pretty successful this past weekend.
Hey,
I'm
no,
really
man,
sad
I'm
you
not-
guys didn't get to see PlanetSide 2 at PAX East.
No,
I couldn't even find it.
I don't think it was there.
They left the second day. They were touring Boston, just sightsee.
Oh.
Great.
Anyways, I played Torchlight 1. I enjoyed it. But, and Bashiok even tweeted, he was hanging out with the guys from the guys that made Runic Games. Is that right? Who made Torchlight
Yes.
2? So there's
All
love.
the
There's
ultimate.
love there. There's love there. But I didn't do 2 quadra kills at the last BlizzCon using a wizard against 4 barbarians playing Torchlight 2. I was playing Diablo 3, son. May 15th. Get your copy now.
Yeah, but
Pre-order
Diablo
that.
3 costs, what, $50?
Well
Torchlight
worth it.
2 is going to be $20.
Well worth it, man.
And
I would,
has
I would
land.
walk
And
to
has
Boston
land.
for Diablo
Yeah, but,
3.
like-
I would walk to Boston.
Diablo
Anyway.
3 is going to be a real game. Torchlight, you could play on, like, Newgrounds and Flash or something like that.
Oh,
I want a serious game, and I will pay $50 for
Dude,
it.
oh my gosh, so excited for that. We'll probably be making minimum wage selling items on the auction house for that stuff, dude.
I'm hoping you can.
I'm hoping so.
I want to quit my job.
Well, hey, chat, if you have any more questions, we'll take them before we close out the show, since you guys have been great this episode. When is the next IPL? They confirmed an IPL 5. They said probably this year.
I think it was August. They said.
August?
Yeah, sometime in August.
BarCraft in August, huh? I'd be down. Unless IPL wants to hire me. Be their MC for something. I don't know. I don't know. I think they could use some dancers.
You could do
they were
you could
in
do
Vegas.
like dueling voices with Cat's pajamas, like
Oh,
dueling
yeah.
banjos.
Dueling
Cats would
voices.
win every time.
Well,
He's just got that velvet thunder in his voice.
Velvet Thunder. Cat's Velvet Thunder pajamas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a good time. Well, it is really cool to know that there's a lot of different events coming out of the woodwork now, man. People have seen the success of previous tournaments and sponsors getting more involved. I don't know, maybe shifting gears should get sponsored and no longer be independent. That'd be kind of cool. Kind of depends on where it should go, though. Anyways, looks like chat is all questioned out. So, I have a question for everybody still watching the stream. How many of you would like a PAX Sivir skin? Well, in order to win this PAX Sivir skin, of which I'm covering the code so nobody screen caps it, takes it. We will definitely talk about a Blizzard World Championship for StarCraft 2 in a later episode. Might try to get Rob Simpson himself on. There's another question here. As far as replays being released from MLG Columbus, tweet at MLG Lee and ask him. I have no idea why they're holding it, and I have no idea when they're going to release them. But maybe I'll have an answer at an upcoming event. I can ask him in person. Okay. The question for everybody I have is this. There is a certain character from League of Legends where I executed a quadra kill. And that, my friends, was streamed. And there is a VOD, both on my twitch.tv channel and on my channel on YouTube, which is 8, the number 8, Clutch. The first person that can tweet me at Clutch08 with the correct name of that champion of which I executed a quadra kill will receive this PAX Sivir skin code. And now my Twitter explodes. Gentlemen, it has been a blast. What is that? PAX Blast. It's been a blast to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Well, we'll start with shout-outs, starting with Wigan.
Shout out once again to the BarCraft people. Shout out to In Control, Artosis, and JP for showing me a good time. Shout out to... Nope, that's it. Fuck everyone else. Thanks for having me.
I'll see you guys inside. All right, Galen.
Thanks for having me on again, Josh. Follow my Twitter. It's right below me there on the stream. And I'm going to have to go with you guys to PAX next time, man.
Yeah,
Just
you were
got scoop
there
me up
ready
in
to pick you up.
DC.
Yeah. We're flying
know.
next time, bro. 12-hour. I was doing so
Oh.
much karaoke in the car.
We should hit the train up, man. The train will be
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can still do the Disney karaoke in the train.
That's right.
I'm sure
That's
everyone
right.
would love that around.
That's right, man. Let's get down to business. Okay, Tiberius.
I don't think anybody really cares if I shout out to them. There's nobody watching this show that I told to
Whoa,
watch the show.
wow.
So I'll just give a shout out to Runic Games making Torchlight 2 and be done with it.
Alrighty. Well, appreciate you gentlemen being on the show, like I said before. It really is a treasure. These guys are treasures in the esports scene. And so glad everybody got to watch this episode of Shifting Gears. We'll be on next week. So until that time, please follow me at Twitter at Clutch08. And get Diablo 3, for God's sakes. Come on, it's Diablo 3 for sure. Good night, everybody.
Good night.